Okay, so the next topic is a bit of an awkward one, and it's really important, but it's really important. And we're going to talk about making the model feel comfortable on the set. And first off, I'm just going to pull the band-aid off, and we're going to start with the elephant in the room. And that's men photographing women in particular. Whatever your political feelings are in regards to this, that needs to be put aside. I've worked for the industry in a while, and I know what is and isn't acceptable, and I know what will destroy someone's career and what will make someone's career. I've spoken to lots of models about uncomfortable experiences they've had on set. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't go both ways, and that sometimes a male model may feel uncomfortable, or a male photographer may feel uncomfortable with the way a certain female behaves on set. Ultimately, it's the male photographer and female model relationship that's the most difficult to navigate. Ultimately, you're the one at the end of the day that, as the photographer, you're the one at the end of the day paying their bill. You're the one doing the imagery. Everything depends on you. Very little depends on them. They're going to be as polite and kind as possible in order to get through the day, get their money, and try and leave with a good reputation. So let me talk about the things that just aren't acceptable. At no point, even as a joke, is it okay to talk about use sexual innuendo or try to flirt on a set. You might think you're being funny. The model themselves might even think you're being funny, but it can make a lot of other people around you feel uncomfortable. And as soon as you've created a sour environment, there's no getting it back. And again, as I said before, as you're paying the wages, it might seem like they're coming across as they're enjoying it, but they're just trying to do the best they can so they can get paid at the end of the day. If you get a reputation as someone that makes people feel uncomfortable on set, I can guarantee you will quickly go out of business. So as you're going to be working with that person for an entire day, and the model really can't leave without damaging their own reputation, you do need to be really considerate and sensitive about the environment you create for them. Now, this doesn't mean we can't have fun, we can't all have a laugh. We should, ideally, your set needs to be a positive space. And there's absolutely just no opportunity to be sexual, and anything sexual is just an absolute no-go. Even if you think there was some sort of relationship on the set, flirting just isn't appropriate. It's not like a typical work environment. You only see each other once. Everyone's freelancers. Everyone depends on reputation. Everyone has to be a yes man on the day to get the job done, because if you're not, you won't work again. The next thing I talk about is physical contact. Now, it's perfectly normal as a photographer when you're trying to direct the talent, you probably do need to move their arm or hand in certain ways. But you know what it looks like from the camera's perspective, and they only know what it looks like from their perspective. And that's fine. But just make sure before you ever make contact, you ask them politely, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do X, Y, Z? You don't need to do this every time. You don't need to sign consent forms. You don't need to go full Hollywood. But just be respectful and use your emotional intelligence. Finally, an important thing, and I'm not saying I follow this rule myself all the time, but ideally there should be more than two people on a project, particularly if it's a male and a female in the studio. Ideally, you have a third person on set who's an assistant, and that just breaks up the dynamic a little bit, and it will make sure that the model feels a lot more safe and comfortable. This person, again, could be an assistant, an assistant, or potentially the client. Ideally, if you're a man and you're working with a female model, hopefully the third person can be is a female too, because two men, one woman is kind of intimidating. Even then, that's still better just to break up the dynamic. Now, it will happen, I'm sure, at some point when you're starting out, you don't really have the budget to pay for an assistant. So it's worth just being honest and open with the model straight away and saying, look, it's just going to be the two of us. You're welcome to bring a friend. I couldn't get an assistant for this. And I'm sure that will do enough to just convert any tensions anyways. And there's nudity. Honestly, I'm of the opinion that if you're a photographer starting out, I just don't think it's appropriate for you to be photographing people nude. Maybe if they're friends, close friends, yes. But I think recruiting, when you don't really know what you're doing artistically, stylistically, you don't have a lot of experience, I just don't think it's appropriate for you to be diving in like that. And there are creeps in the industry who essentially just use the position of being a photographer to try and work with young women who are trying to get their foot on the ladder. This is just not acceptable behavior. Now, also, it's important to recognize that these rules apply for everyone on set. This isn't just you as the photographer. This applies to any stylist or director or the client or producer or whomever else is on set with you on the day. They all need to be respectful of one another. Personally, I think as the photographer, you're kind of the director, you're managing the shoot. Maybe you have a producer there too who's kind of also doing the same thing. I think personally it's your job to take responsibility for the way in which someone behaves. If someone is being inappropriate, take them aside quietly, bring it up with them, and if it doesn't work, you might have to potentially remove them from the set. Ultimately, though, it just comes down to being considerate, being sensitive of your fellow person. It's not that hard. Just don't be a dick. Okay, so let's go on to the other aspects of making your model feel comfortable on the set on the day. So you need to start off with a clear vision, because if they're going to come in confused, not really knowing what they're doing, they're going to be stressed out, they're going to be panicked. Make sure you communicate everything to them beforehand. Like, going into a shoot is a particularly stressful thing, and it's the same for everyone else involved. They all get stressed beforehand. So if you've all got information, it reduces the amount of stress and opportunity for things to go wrong. Another thing to do is build rapport early. I never go into a shoot straight away with people and just get the camera out and start working. I'll take 5-10 minutes, get to know one another, have a coffee, then talk about what the work you're going to be doing is, maybe talk about some work you've done in the past. As soon as you feel like you've got that rapport going, it makes the whole job so much more easier. It'll make you feel a lot more comfortable giving direction. It'll make them a lot more receptive to receiving it. Another thing is to give clear and positive direction. If you keep telling them things that don't agree with one another, you're going to confuse them. And don't be difficult when you give people direction. Don't be, oh, what are you doing? That's wrong. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Just be positive, be warm. Maybe this person's quite difficult. Maybe they aren't doing a very good job. You're only going to have to work them for one day. And it will just in your best interest to just make sure that they feel good and comfortable and happy on the set. Demonstrate when needed. Sometimes you might need to show the pose yourself or show the emotion yourself. Make sure that you're actually showing them the imagery and talking about what aspects work and what aspects don't. Another thing to do is use verbs, not poses. So don't tell them to look as if you're walking to the window. They're a model. Tell them to walk as if they're walking towards a window. And I mean actual movement, and then capture them at the right moment. Pretend you're stretching it after a nap. Tell them what the story is. Tell them the action that they need to do. Let them do that and capturing them and doing it. What we don't want to do is try and capture them faking doing it. No, unless they're sprinting on the set, it's not like we're going to have an issue with motion blur. When it comes to taking photographs, rather than trying to get that one shot, that one particular moment, capture a number of frames through a movement, because sometimes spontaneity is what we're looking for. Ultimately, our photography is an art form. We can't tell someone exactly what it is. We just need to feel our way through it. And finally, make sure you're reading their body language. If they look uncomfortable, they look unsure, they look stressed, take a break, say, are you okay? Are you feeling okay with this? Communicate, let them know that it's fine, give them space, they're a professional, and you'll get back to moving in the right direction. Okay, so a quick recap of that section. Let's be honest, we were just talking about sexual misconduct and sexual harassment on set. This is a big issue in the media industry in particular because of the nature of the dynamic. Be respectful of the person you're taking photographs of. Don't flirt. Don't be sexual, and ideally don't shoot with just two people on set. Next, make sure that we communicate absolutely everything to the model before the shoot day about what it is that we hope to achieve. Start with a clear vision, build rapport early, give clear and positive direction, demonstrate when needed, use verbs, not poses, work in sequence, praise and give feedback often, and read their body language.